we're back here with Amy, our adorable intern who I'm about to humiliate, Chelsea White and Jasmine Loeb. And we're here talking about Amy. Oh my God, you're blushing already. How did you lose your virginity? I have to just tell you though, there isn't a person I meet that I don't think it would be interesting to find out how they lost their virginity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that weird?
I feel like it's just the best way to get to know somebody is because you find out something so vulnerable about them that I think is like a taboo topic.
And people love to tell you.
I know. Once you're asked, you're like good to go because like you have something to say.
And then you have to go through the whole repertoire and people have to hear you. All right, go ahead. So tell us, how did you lose your virginity, Amy?
Okay, guys. So basically, I lost my virginity when I was 19 years old. I lost it. It was like I'm sorry. And it was with a guy that I was dating. We had been together, like titles and everything, for I think 2 months at that point. And then
were you glad to see it go, or was it drenched with anxiety?
I think I was glad to see it go at that. I never felt like any pressure. I never felt like I need to lose my virginity by this time. But when it happened, I was like, good, this is something that's now like happened in my life and I like have this experience.
And did you think it was going to be like a really big deal for the guy as well? Was it his first time?
It was not his first time.
It was not?
No.
How old was he?
He was my age. He was 19.
How many had he had, may I ask?
I think 10 at that point.
Wow.
I know.
Oh, did you use protection?
I think, yeah. We used protection. It was so funny, too, because I remember talking about, like, because when girls, like, fantasize about, like, their first time, I feel like we all kind of have this story. Mm-hmm. And it was just, like, in a dorm room kind of thing. It was pretty basic, but I remember, like, leading up to it, it was, like, raining that night, and we had this, like, beautiful kiss in Washington Square Park in the rain, and then we just kind of, like, went back.
Had you decided that you were going to do it that night?
No, we hadn't, but I remember we came close the night before, but that was the day that was like this girl that I hated. It was her birthday that day.
Wait, what?
And I made a note to myself that I don't want to lose my virginity on the day of this girl's birthday because then I'll always think about her when I think about
That's hilarious.
I have to find out why you hated her so much.
She was my roommate. And actually, going back to food, it was like she suffered from anorexia, and it was like a very tragic time and everything. But she decided to blame her relapse of anorexia on me.
Oh,
and so she just like started.
Wait, that makes
It doesn't make any sense. But so she would like bully me all the time, and she would bully me about like eating and whatnot. And I don't know,
did you create an atmosphere where she had to shove Twinkies down her throat?
Anybody that comes over to my house, I'm like, eat a Twinkie.
Yeah, eat it.
No.
You know you want it.
I don't know.
That probably helped you losing your virginity. You know you want it.
You know you want it.
You know you want it. Did you become emotionally attached to the person you lost your virginity with? Like, some people say that women are hardwired
to like,
yeah,
to be like a clinger.
Yeah. Wow, there's my
Is that the
G-spot. You didn't have an orgasm, did you, the first time?
No, I don't think I had an orgasm for a while.
Wait,
you had one
You
immediately?
had an orgasm immediately your first time?
This is
So
going to
did
be
I.
good.
So did I.
Did you?
Yeah.
Ka-ching.
It was like,
I knew we were kindred. I was like, this could be good longer.
No, honestly, for me, it like went in for like 5 seconds and I orgasmed.
I'm so jealous.
I wish it could happen again like that.
All those
man.
pictures of penises around your parents' house really served you to some degree.
Yeah, it's like a lot of foreplay my entire
Well,
childhood.
how did you lose your virginity?
You know, it was late. I was 18.
It
so
was
I guess
late, and you're a sex columnist.
I know, but you know,
this is not lost
that's
on
the
me.
thing is like I was a late bloomer, and
Late meaning how old?
Like 18. I also had my first kiss when I was 18.
You
I
think 18 is late?
I know, I was going to
For-
say,
I know.
I
wow.
lost my virginity when I was 22.
Guys, wait.
22. You think I'm
I
kidding?
guess
I'm
telling
the
you.
late in
winner.
New York City.
I was 25 when I lost my virginity.
That's
It's the first time I've ever gotten an applause for that.
Wow. Do you still have your hymen in a jar in the freezer or something?
It's up on my mantle, like beside my pet cat's ashes. No, and it wasn't something I purposefully, it wasn't like religious conviction or like, I'm going to hold on to this as long as I can. I just didn't meet a guy who's like, wanted his
Did you
penis
like it?
inside me.
The first time?
Well,
At
the
25,
first time-
you must have been like,
I was like,
"Oh,
God,
take my
please, just,
virginity."
it was a homeless man. I had just met him that day. No, it was my very first boyfriend also at the age of 25. And we had to take a break in the middle because it was kind of like
Hurting?
it was kind of hurting. So we were like, taking our time, and then I was like, okay, I think I need a break. He's like, okay, he's so understanding. So I took a short intermission, and then we tried again. And it was sort of like, I think I was so wrapped up in, especially like being 25, the build up to losing your virginity, just the mental like, oh my God, this is really happening, that I don't even remember what it felt like down there. It was just more the like, it just felt like a victory.
Did you cry?
25
is late.
I want to say I want to think that I did a little bit have some emotional tears, but mostly it was just tears of pain. It was mostly tears of pain.
Really?
He was well endowed. Shout out to first
Really?
boyfriend if you're listening. He's now engaged. Bless
He's
you.
engaged.
He's engaged now. Yeah, so that was my very I don't know,
Was it
unceremonious
a
in
lot
his
of
apartment.
build up about it? I mean, like, were you afraid? Like, did the anxiety start like?
I would say by that time, no. It was more just sort of a like, okay, let's just do this. It's like
Right,
time
yeah,
to
yeah,
get it
let's
over
get it
with.
over.
But it was, I mean, did you guys think that the buildup in your mind, if there was any, matched?
I cried
What actually
going
happened?
into it. Like, not.
What did you say?
I cried like as we were like starting.
Yeah.
That
Because
has to
I
be traumatizing
suddenly-
for the guy.
I mean, he seemed to deal with it already.
Well, he had 10 already, so he was just like, it's a
It was
crier.
just like normal. No, I think I was like so excited and I was like so like happy that this was like finally happening in my life. But then right as it was about to happen, I started having like a panic attack.
Right.
Like what if like I get pregnant? What if I get an STD? Like all of these things that's like, why is this gonna happen? Like we've already talked about all of these things. So I just started crying. And then as soon as it started, I was like, this is great.
There is a generational thing, though, about this, because I think the girls in their 20s now are just kind of like, let's do it, like own your sexuality, where there was this guilt and this kind of,
Oh, yeah.
different
Absolutely.
feeling about it when I
Yeah.
lost it, because it was just kind of like, oh, well, I waited forever.
Well,
I
they-
just was convinced that the smarter you were,
Yeah.
the more control you had was that kind of sexual. And I say
Definitely.
this to you girls now, in that when you hold back and that you make them want it so bad, I think that's good. I'm sorry to say.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
And I think that is kind of starting to get lost. Or I don't know. Amy, what do you think? Is
I
that
don't know. I mean,
still a thing in this generation?
I was just reading an article that they did about how losing your virginity has changed so much and like what it means over the last 20 years. And in the past, it was like a men's rite of passage. And it's always more pleasurable for the man, but women always felt so guilty. But I think now as everything's changing for women and we're like really kind of owning who we are and like what we're capable of, that's changed. And now we're better at just being like, you know what, as long as I'm enjoying myself, I'm being safe and I'm being smart, like let me have a good time.
Yes,
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree with that.
I think it's really cool to kind of own it and own your sexuality, and it's a feminist point of view. I
Definitely.
can't say it, but it's a feminist point
And
of
in
view.
the same
it's a feminist point of view.
And the same as like food shaming, though, I don't think people should like sex shame each other either. Because I think a lot of women, I mean, at least girls my age, if you hear like one 23-year-old be like, I've already slept with like 10 people or whatever, and some being like, well, I've only slept with one, I think there's like stigmas attached to both. And it's kind of like, well, why do we care?
For sure. I felt like I had to lie about my sexual experience
Me too.
Yeah.
before I lost
too.
it, because it's like, oh, 25-year-old version, there's a stigma, but why?
Yeah,
It
and-
was just my decision, but
and-
I felt very like outcast.
And
about
I
it.
didn't feel pressure having sex the first time, but I felt when I broke up with my ex-boyfriend, like there was a pressure to like now sleep with someone else. I feel like that's
yeah.
when I
Oh,
felt pressure.
that's interesting. How quickly did you each sleep with somebody else after the first time? Was it like a week later? Like you waited till you're 25, and then like 10 minutes later, you're like, hey, Mr.
Bring him
Runaway,
on.
runaway sex train. I think mine was like a year.
Mhm.
A
You
year
waited
or
a
less than
whole
a year.
year?
Yeah. Maybe it was later that year. It was
Oh my
somewhere
God.
between 6
Wow.
months and
So
a
this
year.
wasn't like a relationship. You just kind of had sex, lost your virginity, and you were really very bad at it.
Oh,
So I'm so sorry to judge. We said we wouldn't.
wait, sad sex again with my boyfriend or with someone else? With someone else, right?
Yeah.
Oh, were you?
yeah.
Was he your boyfriend?
Oh yeah, he was my boyfriend.
Oh, so you were
okay, yeah.
sick.
So,
She was
so
with him.
yeah. So he was my
Yeah.
boyfriend, and then after we broke up, it was like 6 months
She
to
was
a
like,
year
"This
before I
chick
slept with someone
sucks.
else.
I'm never doing this again.
I was like, this is how it works, right? We have sex annually. He's like, I did not sign
But
up for
then
this.
with the next boyfriend
guy.
after the first time, you're probably like, you don't wait as long.
Oh, yeah. In terms of, I thought you meant, in between. Oh my gosh, yeah. Then the new guy is just like, what are we doing? Coffee and then a quick bang in the bathroom? Let's go.
Coffee and a bang.
For me, like when I was in high school, I remember riding on the subway and looking at everyone just thinking like, this person's had sex, this person's had sex, this person's had sex. Like sex was just on my mind, and it seemed like this mysterious, weird thing that like someday would happen to me. Sort of like how I feel like one day marriage will happen to me.
It will.
Like, do you know what I mean? It's sort of like one day I'll cross this line and everything will be different.
Yeah.
You know?
It'll be different and more boring and annoying and stressful.
Well, it's not really, or is it? I mean, did you feel like after the first time then suddenly, I'm on this other side of life? Or was it?
I mean, sort of, yeah. I felt like this is like that I had birthed myself somehow. Like it was sort of this strange experience. I mean,
wish I could say the same. I feel like we had sex and I was like, let's order Domino's. It was just like another Wednesday. It's like, great.
Well, this is really good. I have to tell you, I think I need some Domino's right now.
Oh, God.
I think I'm going to order some food in. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back in a minute.